Hey, Nathan, I've got your dead body. You owe me $100. Hand it over.
I'm good.
Welcome to the Calling All Creeps podcast. My name is Bryce.
And I am Nathan.
And tonight we're going to be talking about a Boris Karloff film, a Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi film. Quite possibly my favorite Boris Karloff film.
Really?
Or at least my favorite role Boris Karloff has ever played. 1945's RKO picture, The Body Snatcher.
Better than old Frankenstein, huh?
Yeah, I love Frankenstein and his role in Frankenstein. But Frankenstein's a monster or whatever, plays such a sympathetic character. It's a very great film. I love all the Frankenstein stuff. Huge Frankenstein fan. But when it comes to Boris Karloff himself and just how completely iconic he is and how masterful of an actor he is, this is top tier for me. He does evil so well in this film.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I did enjoy him in this role, and it was interesting seeing him in an actual speaking role, because I'm so used to seeing him as Frankenstein's monster, of course, and to be frank, I'm just not that familiar with him outside of Frankenstein. Never seen The Mummy films, and I don't believe I've ever seen this.
Yeah, well, if you ever get over wanting to see him outside of... Oh, well, okay, you've seen The Grinch, right?
The Grinch?
The Grinch.
The cartoon?
The cartoon.
Oh, he has a voice in that. Okay, so...
He's the Grinch.
Yeah, that's different. That's voice acting. That's an animated film. Totally.
Well, you just said speaking role. Yeah. But, right. No, but I recommend it. I think Boris Karloff is just one of the greatest actors who ever lived. It's so hard to say. There's so many facets to it, but I would almost go as far to say maybe the best horror actor of all time.
The best or the most iconic and cool? Because he's a pretty good actor. I don't know that I'm necessarily blown away by his chops. You know, he certainly played some iconic characters.
Well, I guess cool, the best. I don't know maybe what the difference is. I mean, he's a pretty well-versed actor. Does a lot of roles. He does a lot of radio programs. Does a lot of voice acting. But I guess in terms of, you know, when you think of big actors, you know, Lon Chaney Jr., Bela Lugosi, Vincent Price, people like that are a name that you know, are so iconic because they've done so much for the genre. I think Boris Karloff has potentially done more and done better, at least better more times. You know, I would say, you know, Vincent Price and Peter Lorre are also like top tier for me. I love Vincent Price and Peter Lorre so much. And like Peter Lorre and Vincent Price, you know, probably do have, especially Peter Lorre, you know, probably has like some roles where I just go, oh man, maybe in this role, maybe that's like the best or something. But I think Boris Karloff has done too many great things to, you know, if some other actor's done 10 great things, you know, he's done 100 great things.
As a quality over quantity guy, like he's a good actor. He's a very good actor. So no shade to Karloff. I think Vincent Price is like a far more impressive actor in my book, just in terms of chops, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, nothing negative whatsoever. Vincent Price is incredible. I'm a huge sucker for Vincent Price.
But anyway, so yes, Karloff in tonight's subject, Body Snatchers, does deliver a very fun performance. You know, we'll talk about it in more detail in the main discussion, but I didn't find it to be, it's a bit one-dimensional, but it is enjoyable. I enjoyed him every moment that he was on screen, even though I would say there is, it has the depth of a kiddie pool.
His character or the film?
His character, I'd say.
I mean, he is like the third main character. There are two people who are main characters over him, and so that does put a pinch to his on-screen time and maybe what he can do. But I think he just I think there's a job to be done, and he does it. I don't think anyone could have done it better.
Indeed. Well, and that shortcoming is not his fault, of course. He's doing, he's doing what he's been directed to do, and he's working with the material. Now, it was surprising to me that this was based on a Robert Louis Stevenson story.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, yep. This is, like you said, based on Robert Louis Stevenson's 1884 novel, I believe.
That is interesting. Have you read his other big hits, Treasure Island and Kidnapped?
I've read Treasure Island. I've never heard of Kidnapped.
Okay. Yeah, so, I've read both of those. Wouldn't say that I love his writing, but he's a very influential figure. And didn't he also do, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? I feel like he did.
Oh, did he?
I feel like
Oh boy.
he did one of those.
I wrote the name down. I didn't recognize it. I've read Treasure Island. I couldn't have told you who wrote it.
He did do Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I just looked it up.
Oh shit. Man, I just reread that last year. Man, it's so good.
Very good story, yeah. Very readable.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, I can't wait to do an episode on Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You ever watch, you remember Arthur, the Aardvark?
Oh man, it's been an unfathomably long time, but yes.
Man, do you remember the fucking episode where they do the Jekyll Hyde song?
No, I'm talking like,
Oh my
I haven't
God.
watched it since literally like first grade, so...
It's burned in my brain. They do this great song montage where they're doing some good Jekyll and Hyde potion stuff, and they go Jekyll, Jekyll, Hyde, Hyde, Jekyll, 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 Hyde, Jekyll, Hyde. Oh man, that song is forever burned in my memory. I think about it so much. It's so good. I'll send you a link to it. But okay, yeah, let's go ahead and get into 1945's The Body Snatcher. This is Lugosi and Karloff's 8th and final film together. This is one of Karloff's 3 movies made with Val Lewton at RKO. And he credits Lewton for saving his soul and rescuing him from the living dead after he left Universal Pictures, because they continued to put him in monster movies, movies he considered silly, like House of Frankenstein. And so when he got out of Universal and got working with Val Lewton and RKO, he thinks he's pretty much revived his career and given him new breath there. This movie premiered on Valentine's Day in 1945. When they premiered it, I think in St. Louis, it had a horse-drawn hearse, dummy cadavers, Valentine's Day cards with Karloff and Lugosi on them saying, "Please give me a piece of your heart."
Oh, God.
And then a live spook show featuring magician Dr. Neff.
Man, that marketing campaign is shameless.
Oh my, so good. I've never, I don't think until doing this podcast, I've never even considered movie premieres or like been interested in seeing a movie premiere.
Yeah, between this one and Nosferatu and the costume ball with that, I'm kind of impressed. They knew how to do this stuff back in the day, man. That's crazy.
Do you think they still do it? I have no idea if they still do cool things like this. But I mean, I've heard of movie premieres, and I couldn't have even had a hint of an interest in thinking that's something. Oh, I'd like to see a movie premiere someday. But motherfucker, if they're doing some cool shit like this, I want to go. I want to in on movie premieres. You're gonna see me traveling the country being like, oh crap, some dumbass movie's premiering, I gotta go see what kind of trinkets they're throwing out or dumb shit they're doing.
Yeah, marketing nowadays is all going to be like social media stuff, I guess.
Gross. So this movie was also banned or censored or cut in a bunch of places like Ohio, New York, Kansas, Pennsylvania, England, and British Columbia. Chicago and Ohio also just completely condemned the movie. They were not interested.
Doesn't surprise me, honestly.
Which is, I don't know. I know the standards are different now versus back then, but this seems...
I mean, this is the 40s. This is like not even the fabulous 50s yet. This is like...
I know we're just getting into like code movies and stuff, but I guess they're probably just getting really heavy on the code stuff, but this seems like such a tame movie.
It does to us, man, but there's some stuff in here that's pretty gnarly.
Okay.
Just yeah.
Gosh. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, yeah. Once they put the code in after the 30s or during the 30s, somewhere, I don't know when exactly it got set in there.
1934 is when the Hays Code took effect.
1934. Oh, wow. Okay, I thought it was a little later than that. 1934. Wow.
Didn't
Yeah.
lift until 1968, and that's why in the early 70s, you all of a sudden get this giant influx of fucked up movies in the early 70s, including things like The Exorcist.
I don't really like most 70s movies I've seen.
70s might not have, because you enjoy a certain amount of schlockiness, and like the 70s, things got kind of gritty and severe, and it was, the flowering of New Hollywood, where you've got like, the films began to take on this more self-serious kind of like, everything is gritty and disgusting and
Yeah.
cynical.
Still too many hippies in them, too.
Yeah, you're not about the hippie stuff. The whole 60s 70s thing is just, not your thing. But anyway, task at hand.
Back to
yes.
this. So this movie, pretty cool little note here, used some sets from the 1939's Hunchback from Notre Dame, which I thought was cool. Movies in black and white also, which I think is a really fun touch. I love a good black and white movie. So it opens up with a really cool RKO logo. It's got like the radio tower. Love that. This movie continues to open up with the credits over a castle. Castle looks really cool. This is in 1831 in Edinburgh, Scotland. You see a singing girl panhandling, or I guess you could almost say busking. She's not playing a guitar, but you could probably call this busking.
Caroling, perhaps.
Caroling. She's asking for money.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
she's singing for money, yeah. So I call it busking. And so you get your main character, Donald. He's eating lunch in the church graveyard. And while he's there, he meets a dog sitting on top of a fresh grave. And person buried there's mother comes along and tells Donald about this dog, loves his human companion so much he won't eat or leave the grave. And the mother also tells him that she's getting wary of grave robbers by medical professionals. And Donald's a little offended, and he says, I wouldn't worry about grave robbers. And by the way, I just finished my medical studies. I'm about to be a doctor. And he goes off a little distraught at that conversation. And then you get your first look at Boris Karloff as cabman John Gray. At first, you see him here. He's driving his cab. He's carrying, I believe, Miss March, her daughter, Georgina, this little crippled...
Paraplegic. She's a paraplegic girl.
Paraplegic, disabled little girl whose legs are paralyzed. And so your first shot at Boris Karloff here as John Gray is carrying this poor little girl, and he brings her up to his horse so she can say hello to him, and you're just like, God damn, he's just incredibly nice. He's super kind. And that's your first impression of him. And then you meet Dr. Wolf McFarlane. I wish my first name was Wolf. Fucking super cool. And John Gray has just dropped this little girl off at Dr. Wolf McFarlane's place, and she wants to see if he can unparalyze her legs. She's pretty unresponsive to McFarlane. Donald comes along, who is one of his students who just graduated, and he's able to become pretty friendly with little Georgina, and they end up finding a tumor on her back, and everyone admits that McFarlane's probably the only guy who can help her. But due to his teaching responsibilities, he refuses to help this little girl, to everyone's dismay. He kind of guy, it's my job to teach the medical professionals of tomorrow. And if I said yes to every time someone wants to come and have me do something, I wouldn't have time to do what I think is really important. And so poor little Georgina gets turned away to be disabled for the rest of her life.
At least she's not like terminally ill.
No, I'm not.
As far as it's presented to us. I mean, we find out that it's a tumor.
Right.
That's creating her
I
paralysis.
don't know enough
So
about tumors if they're all deadly or not. Hopefully not.
can I also just say one thing that throws me off about this movie, that the actor playing the young doctor in training, how do you say his name? Fede?
It's Donald Fettis.
Fettis. Okay.
Yeah.
The fact that he's American and everybody else is British, and not only that, but they have him saying, like, he's sort of awkwardly trying to speak this British dialogue at times.
Your son, ma'am? He must have been a fine lad for the wee dog to love him so.
Aye.
Lad, lass, that kind of stuff. And when he
Yeah,
says
they
it,
do throw some of that in there.
it does not work. When he says it, it does not work. So I just wonder, it's a good performance. I like him in this, but why not just get a British guy? Like, it's not, you can find 100 guys to play this role. It's just like a sort of almost stereotypical leading man kind of guy. You know, just get some British kid to play him.
Well, if you've ever watched Hollywood movies, they just, it's their big brained idea to never cast the right people in any role. There's never a
see.
person of the right ethnicity or with the right hair color or with the right accent or anything in any movie, I swear. I think the only big movie where I've seen the casting be perfect is the live-action Scooby-Doo movie.
Oh, I'll never understand your obsession with that movie.
It's so good. That's why.
But I was going to ask too, is this a Hollywood movie? You say Hollywood. Was this filmed in Britain or America?
I assume America. It's RKO, and they use some of the stuff from Hunchbacks. I assume this was shot in Hollywood. RKO is pretty big. I think it was, up there competing with Universal. I didn't look to where it's shot at.
Yeah, I guess I was just like wondering, was it an American production or a British production? But if it's RKO, then it's an American production. So interesting. They just
Yeah, I assume it's American.
but it's set in Britain, I suppose. So they've got all these British
It's
or in
Scotland.
Scotland, yeah. They've got all these British actors, and they've got this American. Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting that they made that choice.
So Donald goes to McFarlane and says that he's going to be leaving the medical profession. I think he says due to costs, and McFarlane doesn't want to lose Donald, and so he offers to make him his assistant. So Donald will be able to move in with him, study under him, get paid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. McFarlane's housekeeper, Meg, begs him not to, not because Donald isn't any good, but because Donald is a good person, or a good lad. McFarlane and Meg here appear to be romantically involved. So Donald moves into McFarlane's house. McFarlane makes a remark about bodies to study not being plentiful enough. This is where you get to see Bela Lugosi introduces Joseph. I'm not exactly 100% sure of Joseph's role here. Bela Lugosi, I believe he's some sort of, I don't want to say butler. I think he's some sort of worker around the house, maybe.
He's a servant of some kind.
Joseph? What the devil are you doing, sneaking about like a redskin? Make a little noise, man. Let people know you're about.
Yes, doctor, yes.
Otherwise, I might get the idea you're trying to spy on me.
A servant of some kind, yeah. Back at the graveyard where Donald was eating lunch earlier, the dog is still sitting on his buddy's grave. When out of the shadows, grave robbers come to dig up the body, and they end up killing the dog with a shovel. Late at night, Donald hears a knock. He's woken from his bed. And at the door, it's John Gray, the cab man from earlier. And over his shoulder is a dead body. Donald isn't quite sure what's going on, but he was instructed earlier that day by McFarlane to just pay Gray. So after Gray leaves, McFarlane shows up and tells Donald that he has reached a milestone. It's all this little foreshadowing stuff going on here. So Mrs. March, or Georgina's mother, the little paraplegic or whatever girl, confronts Donald to help convince McFarlane to help her. And Donald's, I'll try my best. He wants to help the little girl out. So while Donald's out walking around, he finds a group gathered around the dead dog outside of the graveyard. Assuming what's happened, Donald tells McFarlane he wants to quit being his assistant and the doctor completely, because the body delivered was the man in the graveyard, and that through that grave robbing, the dog was murdered. McFarlane defends grave robbing for saving lives by advancing the medical field. Late at night, you see the buskin girl out singing again. And Donald and McFarlane are out for a drink, and Gray sort of bullies them into having a drink with him, where he starts to refer to McFarlane as Toddy, which the doctor does not like. And Gray kind of mocks their kindness for sitting with regular old people like him, since they're all high and mighty and professional.
You were going to speak of medical matters. Well, don't let my humble presence stop you. Talk on, Toddy.
I will not have you call me by that name.
You will not have it.
And even though they may be in that sort of position, McFarlane is seen to back down to Gray. This is when Donald brings up Georgina's surgery, and Gray seems to sort of blackmail him into doing it. Kind of makes fun of him for not being a real doctor and just a teacher. So you get a scene of Georgina needing help looking over a wall on top of like a bridge or something, to be able to see a white horse, Gray's horse that she had met earlier. So Donald helps her get over the wall so she can see it. And Donald ensures Georgina and Mrs. March that McFarlane will do the surgery, though later McFarlane tells Donald he's not going to. You get your third scene of the busker out singing at night. Due to Donald wanting to find any reason for McFarlane to do the surgery on little Georgina, he goes and seeks Gray out himself and tells him that he needs another body quickly so he can convince McFarlane to study the spine intensely enough to maybe help Georgina out. Gray's like, well, guess you just gotta wait for the next person to die. That's when you'll get the next body. And, but Georgina doesn't have all the time in the world, and, Donald kind of implies he should hurry. Gray decides he has to do what he's got to do, and here comes, I can think of others, but maybe just one of the most chilling cinematic pieces here ever. You see Gray's horse-drawn carriage through the dark streets, traveling very slowly at night when no one's around. And in the shadows, you hear the buskin girl singing her song until the cab's out of the light and into the darkness. And then jerkily, you hear the singing girl cut short. Absolutely intense, right? I have to stop. I have to watch that scene so intensely every time and just absorb it, and then just stop and be like, holy shit.
It's pretty brazen. He really just picks off the first person he sees.
Yeah. He hears her singing outside, and, she's a beggar. And so, he probably assumes, who's going to miss her, who's going to notice. But yeah, absolutely chilling scene. Maybe just one of the best cinematic scenes ever. So that same night, Gray brings the street singer's body. Donald accuses Gray of murder. He's like, well, I recognize this woman. I just saw her before I got back home, singing in the street. Gray denies being murdered. Gray denies murdering her, gets paid and leaves. Not being stupid, Donald complains to McFarlane about the murder, and, McFarlane tries to, she could have died of anything, But even if it was murder, they can't go to the police. It's partially Donald's fault for ordering the body anyway. And even if Donald were to tell them, well, we tried to illegally get bodies and pay for them, we weren't paying for murder, he's not sure the cops would ever believe it. So they've got to keep shut. And McFarlane is, now willing to do spinal work on the body so he can work on little Georgina. Then you'll get this reoccurring thing here of McFarlane telling Gray he doesn't want to do, or of Donald telling McFarlane, he doesn't, I don't want to do this anymore, then getting pulled back in. But after the murder, McFarlane goes to tell Gray that he doesn't want to do business anymore. But Gray reminds McFarlane that he won't be getting rid of him and that he'll be around, and he leaves laughing. Incredibly sinister. The smugness and this evil power that Gray has over McFarlane is just chilling. Boris Karloff does amazing. Joseph tells Gray that he wants to meet with him because he's seen and heard everything. And that'll happen later, though. So they do the surgery on little Georgina, and afterwards, she claims she still can't walk. And McFarlane is furious. He's yelling at her, and she won't even try. And he won't take acceptance. He's like, "Well, I did everything perfectly right. If there's an issue, it's an issue with you." And he's like, "Well, nothing else I can do about it." And so little Georgina gets to leave, crippled still. So McFarlane is out getting drunk, and Gray shows up, and he's out laying out his frustration and sorrow to Gray. And Gray, tells McFarlane that he doesn't understand life. He doesn't understand the living body, and he isn't a real doctor. He's just a dissectionist. And then this is where Gray spills that something that he took the... You'll learn a little more later, but something about he kind of took the rap or did something to help McFarlane once. And McFarlane has had enough of him holding it over him. Later that night, Joseph comes back to blackmail Gray. Gray finds out that little old Joseph here came of his own accord. No one knows he came. And he's, Joseph's like, "Yeah, I know you're delivering bodies, and you're delivering murdered bodies." And I say, "I want money to keep my mouth shut." And Gray's all, "No problem. I'll give you some drink and some money." And Joseph goes, I just got all this money out of you. Why are you still smiling?" And this is maybe just the most sinister piece here, this great scene with Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi. And Gray goes ahead and tells Joseph that he wants to hire him to help him murder people, to give bodies to McFarlane. And he's just doing this great thing where he's singing and smiling and telling stories of all these evil deeds. And Joseph's a little slow, and he's not getting it. He goes like, "You keep bringing up live people, and then you keep bringing up dead bodies." And he's like, "I'm not understanding what he's stupid, I guess." He's like, "I'm not understanding the connection there." And he's like, "How are you getting bodies?" And Gray's like, "Okay, well, I'll fucking show you." And he strangles Joseph. Joseph is now Deadly Deadlerson.
It's a very bad blackmail scheme, I gotta say.
Oh, yeah. Not very smart.
"Yes, I came here of my own accord. Nobody knows that I'm here. And I know that you kill people. And I want money." He's very straightforward about the scheme. He's pretty much just like, "Yeah, I know you kill people and I want money." End of... He doesn't try to finesse it at all. Also, I was gonna say that, Boris Karloff offers him a drink. There used to be this custom in old movies and in life where you go visit somebody at their house and they just offer you a drink. Always. It's in all these old movies. You go visit somebody's house, no matter how poor they are or what the circumstances are, and they just automatically supply you with booze. Makes me wonder why we stopped doing that.
I agree. It's something I try to bring back a little bit because it's so hospitable.
Not Bela Lugosi's most dignified role or most memorable role, but it's a lot better than the stuff he would be subsequently doing in the next decade or so of his life.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where Bela Lugosi's such a big name, but there do seem to be like an incredible amount of kind of small, dingy, not so good roles given to him, despite him being so seemingly insanely popular. And while I don't see it at the time, I mean, sort of a sex symbol in Dracula, he ends up playing a lot of roles like this, it seems like. And I don't know for what reason exactly, if they just wanted, like, hey, we got Karloff, like, we got to get Lugosi too, or something. But I believe Joseph's not even in the book. They wrote in a specific part just to bring Lugosi in.
Yep, no, it's a good performance, though. I enjoy him in this.
Yeah, no, it's just still fun. Lugosi is, again, while it's not a very flattering or good role, Lugosi's just good at what he does. So back at McFarlane's house, Gray's in there bothering Meg till McFarlane comes home. McFarlane tells him to leave, and Gray says, well, I brought you a little gift, buddy. And, McFarlane's like, I don't want any of your gifts. And Gray reminds him that it would be a shame if he would go to the police and tell them that McFarlane is, ordering these dead bodies, and for McFarlane to be in jail and his medical school could, shut down, and all those students could lose a teacher, and you could lose a lot of medical progress that way. So Gray leaves, and McFarlane goes down in his basement and finds Joseph dead. Donald again says, hey, I want out. And McFarlane reminds him that it's just part of the fucking job, dude. He's like, you want to, be a doctor, dude. You gotta get bodies, and if you can't get bodies legally, you gotta get them one way or another. But you can tell this is the second, maybe the only times they do these murders or something. But this is the second murder so far in this movie, and you can tell McFarlane's pretty fed up with it. So he goes out to find Gray. Meg decides to tell Donald all about Gray and McFarlane, how Meg is actually secretly his wife that he has to hide, and how McFarlane could have been a good person and a good doctor, but all of this shame in dealing with Gray and his old mentor, Dr. Knox, and this old trial they keep bringing up where Gray seems like Gray probably saved McFarlane. Meg just goes ahead and says, Donald, get out before... It's like, because Dr. Knox was probably not a good idea. It's the guy who trained McFarlane. He's like, you're going to end up just like him. Get out while you can. So I went ahead and looked into this, and turns out this is a real-life trial. They keep bringing up the Burke, Hare, and Knox trial, known as the Burke and Hare murders or the Westport murders. It was these two guys, Burke and Hare, who over 10 months in 1828 murdered 16 people in Edinburgh, Scotland, to supply a Dr. Knox with bodies for his anatomy classes. At the time, Edinburgh was the center of anatomical study in Europe, and you could only get bodies of people who died in prison, committed suicide, or of orphans or foundlings, which are just children who've been abandoned, which left the medical field in a short supply and made need for these resurrection men or body snatchers. And so Burke and Hare murdered these 16 people who seemed to be mostly lodgers in his house. And eventually, I think the 16th person, the body was discovered by other lodgers. And Hare gets off of the rap by ratting Burke out, who was eventually charged and hung and then dissected. And then his skeleton to this day is still displayed at the Anatomical Museum of Edinburgh Medical School, which is that sounds like a must-see. I've got to go to Scotland at least to go see this dude's skeleton hanging up.
It's interesting that it's based on a specific real case. I knew that there was that it was a matter of public interest in Victorian times for body snatchers, that was a real thing that happened, and I assumed that's that's why this story was written.
Right. Yeah, I assume so. Robert Louis Stevenson or whatever. Probably, because it's probably just a big thing, and probably the same thing like our Buried Alive episode. Probably pretty big sensationalized thing to be writing about at the time. So McFarlane tells Gray he's cutting off the relationship one way or another. Kind of insinuates, it's like, if I have to murder you, you and I are not interacting with each other anymore. But he also offers to make Gray rich for Gray to fuck off into eternity and leave him alone. But Gray says he prefers McFarlane to come begging to him, come begging for bodies. And to have that control over someone of stature like McFarlane, Gray says he's had a long, hard, and poor life of doing things he doesn't want to do. And he's not going to give up his position, having this control over somebody, to just become a common cabman again. So, and also McFarlane calls him a common graveyard rat, which I thought was a super cool insult. Shout out to the Con All Creeps record, Grave Rat. Which is not a reference to this. It's a reference to the movie Mallrats. You seen Mallrats?
No.
I would say, at least, if not my favorite movie of all time, at least my top 5 favorite movie of all time. Oh, so good. But not a horror movie, so we're not going to be talking about it. But so Gray and McFarlane, they start to fight. McFarlane, smart guy, he feigns being suffocated by Gray, and then jumps back up and beats Gray to death. Hits him with a chair, and just takes the leg of the chair and just beats this fucking guy to death. Super cool. All while in the background, Gray's cat is absolutely fucking terrified looking. Do you see all the shots of that cat?
Mm-hmm.
That cat's back there like, what the fuck? There goes my owner being bludgeoned to death.
My favorite performance of the film.
Yeah, I love watching old movies that have cats and other little animals in them. I'm like, oh man. And then they're probably all dead, but I don't know. It's cool. It's cool to see them. I like them. So McFarlane brings Gray's body back to his place and shows his housekeeper / wife Meg the body, and he's pretty proud. He's like, hey, we're finally rid of him. This is all behind us, man. And Meg's not stupid, and she turns away and solemnly looks back at him and says, I don't think we're rid of him yet. Insinuating that even though Gray is gone, McFarlane is still going to continue, and this is still going to be a part of his life and live over him. So Donald goes and meets Georgina and Mrs. March to check up on them, and he reveals to Mrs. March that he's left McFarlane. Said, McFarlane could only teach me the math, but not the poetry of medicine. And so while Donald and Marsh are having a conversation, Georgina, like earlier, is hearing the horse over the wall, and she's hoping it's the white horse. And she really wants to look over this wall to say hello. She's calling for her mom, but they're standing off, having a conversation, and they don't hear her. And through her determination to see this horse, she gets up out of her wheelchair, and then is still too short to look over the wall. So finally gets their attention, and whoa, she's standing. She's took a couple steps. She's walking. And so that's great. They celebrate her being able to walk. Super cool. Donald rushes to tell McFarlane the good news. He's not home. Meg says he's out drinking and tells him, not to bother him. But this is good news. So at the bar, McFarlane sells Gray's horse and carriage. Can't be selling that stuff around town where someone will recognize it. And the man who bought him's over there bragging to a group of guys about how he just swindled this dude out of a horse and carriage for a steal. And the group of guys sits around the fireplace singing. Another good old-fashioned thing we don't do anymore. So Donald arrives at the bar, delivers the good news to McFarlane, and he's like, great, I knew I couldn't be wrong. And then he goes ahead and tells Donald that, I convinced Gray to leave town. And, with this news of the surgery working out and Gray being out of their lives, this is a new leaf. This is all good news. And then a mourning party arrives at the bar after a burial, and McFarlane goes, well, let's go steal the body, which Donald is not thrilled about. And, McFarlane goes on, he's like, I'm not unfamiliar with the art of being a resurrectionist, and you can't let opportunity pass, and I will not let the stupidity of people or laws prevent him from furthering medical progress with this school, nor will this business force him to deal with people like Gray ever again. And he's like, I still need bodies, and I can do it myself, and I don't need people hanging over me, and I don't need laws getting in my way.
Yeah, the ignorant law of not being allowed to rob graves.
Well, I will ask you about that at the end here. Okay, so they go and they dig up the body, and there's no room in the carriage for whatever reason. But they have to set it between them, up front where they sit with the horses on their horse-drawn drive back home. It's raging, storming outside, and McFarlane begins to hear Gray's voice repeatedly calling his name. Toddy, 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 Toddy. You'll never get rid of me. You'll never get rid of me. You'll never get rid of me. And McFarlane, probably losing his mind here a little bit. It's a little, that classic trope of, I don't know if this is a real thing people experience, but it seems in all old media. Probably it could be a code thing where you murder someone and then all of a sudden you're haunted by that person or something, by the grief or the guilt of it. So McFarlane stops the carriage, sends Donald out to fetch a lantern because he's got to check this body. He's like, this body's sitting next to me, and I'm all of a sudden hearing Gray's voice. And well, obviously, Gray's body is back at his house, and this is a woman they just dug up. He's got to check the body anyways. And so he gets the lantern, and when he lifts the burial shroud, it's Gray's face. Gray's body's there and is hauntingly yelling his name back at him. And so McFarlane freaks out. Donald's still out of the carriage. And so when he freaks out, the horse jolts and shoots off into this storming, muddy way. And they run wildly out of control. And they fall off of a cliffside. Donald goes down the cliffside and finds them and checks on them, ensures that McFarlane is actually dead, and that the woman they dug up wasn't Gray. It's just the woman they dug up. And he's probably thinking it's probably the best situation, and he leaves him there and assumes his walk home. The movie ends with a quote from I think I'm saying his name right, Hippocrates.
It's when that Hippocrates quote came on the screen and the music swelled, I was like, oh, fuck off. It's hilariously pretentious.
Yeah, it's a fine quote, but I don't think it was necessary or the right quote for it, but whatever. That quote says, "It is through error that man tries and rises. It is through tragedy that he learns. All the roads of learning begin in darkness and go out into the light." That's against whatever.
My issue with that is that the film is not really exploring anything philosophical in any kind of an interesting way. So I don't know. That quote just feels very tonally weird to stick that here.
Yeah, at least this quote. Like a lot of these movies do quotes like that, and I think a different one could have played out better, but. Yeah, this one's whatever, but whatever, man. As through error, man tries and rises through McFarlane's errors of digging up bodies, or at least buying bodies. He rises the medical field, but through the tragedy of this, he might learn that it's not a good idea, and even though this medical profession began in darkness like that, eventually it goes out into the light. I don't know. It almost tells you to rob bodies, but I don't know. Whatever.
That's
kind
the
of
moral
a
of the
dumb
story,
quote.
yeah.
So
Yeah, a little
that's the fucking movie, dude. It's Boris Karloff digging up bodies and a couple guys figuring out their relationship with that, and Boris Karloff just being fucking amazing. Just absolutely sinister with such a grin on his face. He's so cocky and self-assured in this. Such a good performance. What'd you think of it, Nathan?
Of the film as a whole?
Sure.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I had a good time. It was a fun little thriller. I didn't find it to be anything super special necessarily, um, but I don't think it was trying to be anything profound. It's just an entertaining thriller, and I like it for what it is. The Boris Karloff performance is pretty good. It's entertaining. Again, not really a whole lot of depth to it or anything. It's not super interesting, but it's it's very entertaining. I enjoy watching him. Um, you know, it's it is quite one note. The performance. He's kind of just hammering the same beat over and over again. So it's good that he's not on screen too much of the time. He's given about the right amount of screen time, I felt. I think the young actor playing Fettis did a good job. I think the real emotional center of the film is the paraplegic girl and her mother, and the dynamic that they have with the young doctor in training, and that whole arc, which is nice and satisfying and provides a little bit of cushion to the more hard-boiled elements of it. The best performance of the film probably comes from the morally compromised doctor who is sort of grappling with his morality throughout this film. He's the most interesting character. He has the most depth. There's more going on with him than with anybody else I find. I think I enjoyed him the most.
Oh yeah, he's incredible.
Oh, the score is lovely. The soundtrack is just very, very, very nice. I was going to say that as well. Classic, old school orchestral soundtrack. You know,
Yeah.
cinematography is pretty nice, pretty like standard boilerplate kind of thriller horror cinematography for the time. It's quite good. This film feels a little bit low budget. I'm not sure what kind of budget it had, but it feels like it was not stupendously expensive to make or anything.
Yeah, I think that's what I was reading, that RKO was considerably low budget compared to Universal. But this movie did, like, for RKO, made a pretty good return on investment or whatever. They made a lot of money on the movie, I think, comparatively to what they spent on it. Though I think the guy was trying really hard to get more budget into there. They wouldn't get it, but I think they came out ahead. And I think that's what I like about it. It doesn't have the grandeur of something super big, but I think it's so well done. And yeah, there's not a lot of depth to the story or to the character, but I don't think there needs to be. I think it is just a great chilling tale of resurrectionists. And I think just the topic itself is interesting enough to carry it along. I don't need depth in my grave robbing tales. I just give me anything about grave robbing and it's automatically super fucking cool.
Well, I think with the Karloff performance, when he spills the beans in the last confrontation scene where he's like, I'm doing this, I'm being such a pest to you because I am nothing and all I have is that I have this power over the good doctor, and it's about pride and stuff. And it's like, okay, well, there's something. It would have been nice to see more of that pathos going on under the surface of his performance. It would have been nice to take that little breadcrumb of character depth and spread it out a bit more. And, like, it would have been nice to see a bit more than just Karloff doing this, ha ha ha, yes, my friend, I'm passive-aggressively sinister, the whole, in every scene. It got a little bit old.
Well, okay, I don't know. I didn't feel old to me, but I agree that they probably could have done a little more, but I do think they do a very, throughout a lot of it, they do a lot of hinting and foreshadowing. That way you don't get it until the big moment at the end there. It's kind of like, you just kind of have to like question, like, what is this? What's going on? Like, why is this the relationship? And it's like, I have something over you. And you're like, oh, does he? And so you kind of like get little hints there. People kind of dropping it a little bit here and there. And then at the end, it's brought up. And yeah, that is maybe the most interesting part to me is that scene, because you don't think about it super much, because you don't even think necessarily that Gray even needs to have anything over McFarlane. McFarlane's needs bodies anyways, and it's probably just easier and less of a threat to his self personally to not be out there doing the work.
Sure. Well, it's
Because if Gray gets caught or something like that, then hopefully he can just move on to somebody else or do it like I said, do it himself, I guess. But so she doesn't even need that power over him, but you do just get the hints of like, again, like Gray has something over him, but again, I almost don't feel like he needs something over him through all that trial stuff. But at the same time, it does make a lot of sense when he does, bring up that he's not digging up bodies because he loves digging up bodies, or killing because he loves killing. He's not digging up bodies necessarily because he needs money.
Well,
he's digging up bodies specifically because he's doing this illegal act and bringing this person who's so far above him professionally, socially, and financially above him. And through this illegal act, he's bringing this person down to his level. And it is just kind of like, you see that working in his mind of, I'm just, the only person I am is I'm just a poor dude, I live in a poor place. I got a cat and I drive a cab, and you can tell that's not exciting enough or important enough for him, and he just has that need to drag this person of greater stature, who probably confesses a higher morality and such, and drag him down to his level so he can feel equal, or at least feel like he's doing something evil to these people who are he thinks are above him.
Well, the Karloff character is like the Mr. Hyde to the good doctor's Jekyll. It feels very typical of Robert Louis Stevenson's writing in the way that he handles good and evil, because it's like you've got the two halves. The bad guy who's supposedly different from the good guy, and either way, bodies are getting robbed. But it's ultimately a simple morality tale about how, I guess, it's not good to rob graves, and this is a point that needs to be illustrated.
Yeah, but even then, like you said, kind of like the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing is, even though there are these two polar opposite feeling things, there's still something that holds them together. They still need each other together. They are still one. Neither of them exist without each other. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are one and the same. And he can't do his medical studies without bodies. And he can't just rob bodies without someone needing it for a medical study. And while they've tried to be these polar opposite type of people, they are immersed together. They're kind of sewn together, and it's neat.
Yeah,
I see what you mean. So out of 10.
So out of 10 disembodied human skulls, I'm going to give the Body Snatcher 6.5 out of 10.
6.5. That's good.
I thought it was pretty decent. I enjoyed it. It felt like a very nice, cozy, wholesome way to spend an afternoon.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and give this, I feel like I could go higher, but I'm going to give it at least an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
This is definitely, in this era of movies and movies from the 30s, 40s, 50s, this, I've seen a lot of them, and I love a lot of them. And this is one that has just really stood out to me. I've gone back to watch this movie probably more than I've gone back to watch most other movies from the 30s to 50s. So I don't know what it is about it, but I don't get sick of it. I'm intrigued. I mean, there's parts that still chill me every time. I just think it's a good story, And so I've gone back to watch this over and over and over again, and I haven't got sick of it yet. It's really good.
Yeah, it is decent. I think I would recommend it. I would recommend it if you are down with old movies, because it is very old. It's not the oldest movie we've talked about on the podcast, but you know, it's from the 40s. It's still in that early period of talkies where old Hollywood is not yet in full bloom.
So what do you think of body snatching? Let's say in general.
What do I think about it? I mean, it's a heinous crime. I don't really have much thoughts about it beyond that.
I mean, okay, yeah. So what do you think about it at this time period for this reason? How do you fit into your own mindset of, yes, it's wrong and it's legal, and you probably wouldn't want it to happen to you personally or to someone you personally know, but now that we're very far removed from that time period where, like you said, it's very hard, probably less people donating their bodies and all the sort of stuff, and you have to probably, these guys have to work with fresh medical specimens to be able to try to constantly learn and teach people. And at this time, like we've talked before, medical stuff wasn't all there yet, and so by doing things like this, they're able to further along medical progress, and therefore, even though they are grave robbing and stealing bodies, at the same time, they're doing things to save human lives, and maybe stealing one body can save or teach somebody and save multiple lives. And those same studies from back then have probably gone on to save lives from all the way then until now, things they learned. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, that may be. That's unfortunate if so, but like, you can't rob graves. It's just extremely not okay. Like, yeah, like, imagine it's somebody you know. You just can't do that. What you should do is have a culture where you have organ donors and you have, the system that we have nowadays.
Yeah, well, in a perfect world, and yeah, what we have nowadays. But at the time when
I'm not. If the question is, would I concede that it's morally acceptable to do this? I can't quite go there with it. It's just too heinous of an offense, and it really is.
So you don't think sometimes bad things need to happen, or people need to die for good things to come out of it?
I understand the hypothetical presented by this film. I think it's a weak hypothetical. No,
I don't think it's presented by this film. I think it's presented just as a concept in general. I think this is just a film about it.
Yeah, I'm not impressed by that. No. Yeah, no, I don't think you can justify it, really.
So out of 10, grave robbing?
I'm going to have to give that a solid 1.
Solid 1 out of 10. Well, I'm going to go ahead and give grave robbing a solid 10 out of 10.
Hell yeah.
Everybody should be grave robbing. After this podcast, I'm going to go grave robbing, doing cool, spooky, horrible, criminal things. Doing criminal things, and then there's doing like cool, spooky criminal things, and they're two completely different things. Probably for legal reasons or something, I don't actually condone grave robbing, but for the sake of whatever, I don't know. Fictionally at least, grave robbing is pretty sick.
Gotta say that because the feds are definitely listening to the Calling All Creeps podcast to see if we condone grave robbing.
Oh, I'm sure they are. Got my tinfoil hat on, man.
Indeed, sir. Well, I think it's safe to say we both recommend this film, and we have mixed feelings on the politics, if you will, of grave robbing.
Oh boy. Do your part this Halloween. Rob a grave.
Well, Bryce, unless you have any closing thoughts on the subject, we don't want to exhaust the subject beyond its means. Do you have anything else pressing that you want to add about the Body Snatcher from 1944?
I think 45.
45.
Not necessarily. It's just it's a great movie. It's a great performance by Karloff. All the lighting is good. It's a lot of good dark shots and candlelit shots. And there's some really chilling scenes. I mean, go and watch that scene where Karloff kills the street singer. Just incredible. But no, I don't have any other thoughts. So until next time, bad dreams.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
The ghetto witch comes out at night, going looking for a bite. Her tail swishes as she glides. Creatures in the swamps dead beside. She's got a shack and it's set on stilts. With the use of magic was how it was built. She slides up through a hole in the floor and mixes up something evil on her front porch. She's the gator witch. She's slimy green with a real long snout. Just how long I dare you to find out. She's got a hat points up to the sky. Many a man who's loved her has up and died. She's got jaws full of lizards, snakes and mice, and a book full of spells that'll make you cry. How she got this way, well, I don't know, but I can tell you how the story goes of the Gator Witch. Once a beautiful girl went in the swamp to kill a gator for her mom and pop. The gator she got so they could eat belonged to a voodoo man named Cajun Pete. He cursed her for killing his friend and turned her into a gator woman. She was quick to get her revenge. She ate old Pete and got his magic in the end. Now she's the Gator Witch. Now if you ever find yourself among the cypress trees, watch your step, I'm begging you please. For if you don't and she finds you out, no one will ever hear you scream and shout, beware the Gator Witch. She'll get you, the Gator